Since making the last Is Killing Bad video, I received a really good comment from a viewer, and I'm going to get a little bit into some more nuanced views of Is Killing Bad. So stick around so we can discuss those. Thanks for joining, and let's dive right in. Okay, there's two things that I want to talk about, guys, and one is the death penalty, and the other is war. And we're going to get into nuanced examples, reasons why I will say both yes and no, and then give my ultimate answer on whether war is good or bad and whether the death penalty is bad. And it's it's pretty complicated. We'll just put it like that to start off. But to be real, guys, we're gonna start with the death penalty. Death penalty, is it bad? No and yes. I mean, let's be honest. There's good things about it. There's bad things about it. But we're gonna start with the bad. The risk for error. I done a little bit of research, guys. Since 1890, 276 executions were botched, meaning people survived them. Even more recently, if you do a little digging, there's been 6 people recently that survived the lethal injection. So, like, that further prolonged suffering. It's a violation of human rights, honor of life, the right to life. A lot of people tout it as being cruel and inhumane. There's long wait times. So the victims of the family, people that were affected by the murderer or something, usually that's why people get on the death penalty, on death row, suffer because the person's still alive, sending appealing the thing and drawing the death penalty out sometimes I've seen it for over a decade. And another thing, who gave the government the right to kill? That's another thing, another question, big question to ask. In fact, there's cost of taxpayer dollars. So to feed and the legal cost, of public defenders or attorneys, just everything that goes into it that we don't really know about the legal system and stuff comes out of your check if you work in the U.S. Risk of executing innocent people is another thing. There have been several instances. Now, I didn't go too deep and find names and stuff, but there have been instances where people proved their freedom who were on death row. So we have to consider that there are some people out there that are innocent that are wrongly accused of killing. The justice system is flawed and makes mistakes, guys. It's just a human fact. We're flawed people. We make mistakes. We make wrong assumptions and judgments and assumptions, guys. And evidence doesn't always lead to the right person. A lot of times people do evidence to mislead people or leave evidence that misleads people. And there's no evidence that it actually deters crime more effectively than life imprisonment. There's no evidence. Go look it up. There's no evidence that public, we'll get into that public execution, but in a little bit. But that it's more effective than deterring criminals from committing heinous crimes than people facing life imprisonment. Like, it's not a deterrent. It doesn't stop people. And it does, going back to the families of the victims affected, it fails to provide closure for these extremely long wait times for the appeals and going back and forth with the judicial system. It just doesn't seem right, guys. It really doesn't. So in saying that, we get to the second part of why it would be ethical, I guess. Why it would be ethical? Retribution? Justice requires a punishment proportionate to the crime. It's kind of a payback, or so to speak, life for a life. Even though Jesus taught, you say an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but I tell you to love your enemies, to do good to those that do bad to you. It really isn't our human right, to take another life. Now I know there's victims out there that will be like, hey, my son was killed, my father was killed, my grandmother was killed. You don't understand. Now, you're right. I have not lost somebody to murder, but I have some friends that were lost to murder. But family, no. But is it right, morally right, to take their life? That goes back to like Old Testament law. If we're just going to stick in Christianity, that's Old Testament law and not the law of Jesus. Um, I didn't look into the other major religions for this. I really wanted to get into the nuanced things. Another thing, going back to the closure of the victims of families, man, how long the appeals that can take years and even up to decades to get these people closure is disheartening. Um, the prevention of reoffending, they think that it's a deterrent, but this goes back to the deterrence thing. There's no evidence, no studies, no evidence, statistical data that proves that it is a deterrent. So I'm going to give you my answer real quick. And then the obvious moral expression of society. So it's basically the government and society in general saying, like, publicly showing that killing is wrong and this is what will happen if you do a heinous enough crime. This is what will happen. We will execute you. Now, the only way, and bear with me, guys, with this when I say my answer, the only way that this could be ethical, really, because of all this, if we went back to like the French Revolution, like the beheadings, or let me make it a little less ugly for you. If you could find reasonable evidence on somebody, it needs to be done within a week or two. But because of human life and that we should respect life regardless of what somebody does, sure, life in prison. That makes sense. Without the possibility of parole, you die in prison. Now, is that going to cost taxpayer dollars too? Yes, but we have to see life for life and beyond the particulars, the nuance. We have to see life for what it is, a life. A lot of people don't do that, and I think people need to get out of their 3 to 6 foot personal bubble, as I've spoken in a couple other episodes. But then there's war, guys, and this one's just as shaky, if not shakier, about whether war is ethical. I mean, is it? I knew a guy. I sat with a guy. He was a Vietnam vet, Mr. Robinson. I won't give his first name for privacy reasons. He served in the Vietnam War. He had a quote that he said, "It's not about who's right in war; it's about who's left." So, in saying that, shout out to Dan Robinson. He was totally against war, although he did join the military and was actually in a special unit that I can't talk about. But why is it not ethical? Well, we'll get it to that first. Then I'll get to why it is ethical, I guess, and then I'll give you my answer on whether war is ethical, right, or wrong. It can for why it's not ethical. It causes immediate casualties, long-term psychological trauma, which we'll get into a little more in a second, and potential for collapse of infrastructure, the economy within the society being attacked, which is the economy is necessary for human survival because it takes money to live. There's the direct and indirect not theory, but dilemma. There's the direct conflict, so millions get killed, millions, but there's the indirect conflict, which the indirect should be pretty obvious, but maybe it's not for some. We obviously know missiles hit people, boom, dead. But what about the people that die from starvation because of it and disease, lack of healthcare, the breakdown of healthcare? In fact, in 2026 of this year, 239 people are currently not last year, currently in humanitarian need. I'll repeat that: 239 million people. That's not too far from the population of the United States, but that's globally in need of humanitarian access, but that are entrenched in conflicts. We also have forced displacement in 2025. Last year alone, 120 million had been displaced worldwide. That's nearly a third of the U.S. if you consider the world. Had been displaced worldwide. People are having to start their lives all over. Everything they worked for, everything their granddaddy worked for, their dad, their great grandfather, their mothers, everybody before them, everything that the people that have worked for is now gone. They have to start over. They have to move on. And that's hard. That's very hard. 40. We're going to get to that psychological trauma. Remember, I said we were going to get back to it in a second. 40% of people that do are in war zones experience PTSD. Some estimate the numbers are higher, but 40% is documented. PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder, where people show anxiety, depression symptoms. Um, Even flashbacks. There's a long list. It's horrible. Also, social erosion. This includes children. Children should not have to endure war. Um, they shouldn't be exposed to that at an early age. Their brains are not developed enough. Um, Also, with social erosion, it breaks trust in the social fabric of society by destroying communities. It does. I mean, if you can look at the aftermath of war, and it looks like a trash heap. It's terrible. Trade declines with that mistrust and social erosion. And hey, let's stop talking about people for a minute. What about planet Mother Earth? The ecosystem collapse. Did you know, guys, that global war conflict every year accounts for 5.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions? Imagine if we were to eradicate 5.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. That's quite a bit. I know 5.5% doesn't sound like a lot, but with ecosystem, that even 1% would make a drastic change. And 5.5, wow, that is a lot. Including it with the ecosystem, dropping bombs. This leaks heavy metals, explosive chemicals, um, and hazardous elements like asbestos into waterways, the air, the soil. So war doesn't look good any way you look at it. But I mean, it does happen. Does it make it right? I don't think so, but here's the reasons why it's good. Okay, why it's good. And I hate saying that, but I'm going to give you my honest feedback. I'm trying to see it from both angles, guys. I'm not a person that sees one thing from one side. I like to get two sides of the coin, or many sides. If it's a cube, I like to see all sides of the cube of perspectives. Okay, it can function as a catalyst, guys, for significant societal and technological change for the good. Let me give you some examples. It creates an urgent demand for solutions for life or death problems. Technologies like radar, things that which led to air traffic travel and weather. You turn on the weather and you know what's coming, whether a tornado or snow or ice or wind and all that good stuff came from war and conflict that was invented. Penicillin was heavily used in World War II. To save soldiers. There was a big, if you look into the big advancements into blood transfusions happened during World War II, and mobile X-ray technology. So technologies in the demand to for medical breakthroughs happened during wartime. Economically, there was job creation. Think about it. You got military. That's jobs. You've got medics. That's jobs. You've got cybersecurity. That's jobs. So it does increase the amount of jobs that are available. Though some people like me that have disabilities, physically and mentally, cannot serve in the military. It does create jobs for those looking for um, quick money and dangerous money at that. Industrial modernization, um, energy exporters, cybersecurity firms, they often experience influx in revenues during wartime. So economically, it does seem to help for, I guess, the aggressor, or maybe not the aggressor, but the person, both, I guess, being ready for war, or however many countries are at war, or these companies are making tons of money. A lot of people claim national unity by getting rid of a threat to a nation. Ultimately, it's creating a greater good for that nation. Um, a threat of another nation attacking or doing something that threatens the economics of another country could be seen as getting rid of that threat it saves the nation in essence. Stopping atrocities, we saw that with Adolf Hitler. If that wouldn't have been stopped, there was over 6 million killed: Jews, blacks, gays, people that weren't blonde haired and blue eyed. If we wouldn't have went to war for that, and other things beyond that, it could have gotten the number of death toll of over 6 million could have been much worse. So I do get it. A deterrence, just the threat of war could prevent aggression, but we're not seeing that much anymore. People don't care as much. People are willing to go to war, and it's sad. My view on war: I am totally against war. It like Dan. Oh, let me not say his first name. Mr. Robinson said, "It's not about who's right in war; it's who's left." Meaning, like the remainder of war, the casualties, the impact, the damage of war. It's not good. It never ends well. Maybe if you get rid of a terrible regime, it's okay, but ultimately it's not good. So in saying this, guys, is killing bad still in nuanced examples such as the death penalty and more? I don't think so. It's not ethical, really. The negatives outweigh the positives, in my opinion. But who am I? I'm just O2 does the most. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just one man putting out my ideas out there. I don't think it's ethical. I think there's certain instances for war that could be viable, but it comes at a cost. It comes at a cost, and a nation or nations have to weigh that out. And that's my view on it. I don't agree with war. Diplomacy first, always, but sometimes it's necessary, I guess. And as for the death penalty, we waste so much money and people's time, and psychological distress happens that if you can't find credible evidence within a few weeks, then it should be life imprisonment without parole. Like plain and simple. You're paying either way. So why not respect the life instead of judging the person? Who are we to judge? If you look at the Christian faith, I think it's Matthew chapter 5 or chapter 7, 1 through 5. Judge not, lest ye be judged also. And with what measure you judge, you will be judged by also. Who are we to judge? Who are we to kill? Why are we to kill? Who did God give us the right to kill? Certainly not. Or okay, and I'm going to speak for the non-religious guys. Is it okay to kill? Really ask yourselves. I made a part 2 because of a commenter, and a great commenter. We had a good little conversation in the comments. Is it right to kill? Just sit there and ask yourself. If psychopathy does not plague you, does it seem right? If you sit there for long enough, you'll probably say no. I don't care who you are. Because if you have to be involved with it, you would probably say this isn't right. But because many are not involved in it, they weigh their 2 cents in. That eventually accounts for nothing, guys. But nonetheless, I digress with that. Thank you so much for watching my part 2 on Is Killing Bad? More nuanced examples. I've done this basically from a viewer of my first Is Killing Bad video. If you're new here, please smash that subscribe button. If you've made it this far, check out my other books. I'm also an author. I have 5 books out for sale. Links will be in the description below and can be found in my YouTube bio. That's at the top of my channel. The 5 Amazon links are my books. You can click on them, look around on Amazon, so you can support me that way monetarily, or by hitting that subscribe button and dropping a like on this video. Thank you so much. You already know O2 does the most. Let's get it. Thank you, guys. Comment your thoughts down below. I love the comment I received on the first video. I guess a few views on it. Currently, at the recording of this, 70 something. It's pretty good for no name around here. Appreciate you guys. You already know O2 does the most, man. War is bad. The death penalty seems a little wishy-washy, and it's just bad long-term, man. Peace be with y'all. Real talk. Peace out.